Emotional Spring DSL Round 2. Just like the year prior, the increasingly warmer weather of spring had me itching for another DSL connection. My past few mycospawn consumptions didn't feel as enriching as I had wanted them to be, what with freaking out at the Boogerins show and having an iffy time with Thomas during Mardi Gras. A sunny weekend day arrived, where Luna and I had plans to go see music later with Cassie, Omar's ex. It was a cool local band I liked, and I thought it'd be a perfect time to connect to DSL in the early afternoon so that I could still coast with it later at the show. Luna wasn't crazy about this idea, mostly because she didn't understand DSL and why journeying in the great unknown was something I was into. "Why can't you just enjoy it without any powers?" she would ask me. It's a sorry misconception a lot of anti-power people hold, the notion that taking a power to enjoy something more is somehow a bad thing. Well, I will never understand it. Do we say it's a shame that people cannot enjoy a movie without popcorn? A morning without coffee? She didn't understand that it was simply how I rolled, something she'd have to get used to. I connected to DSL in the mid-afternoon and sat up in bed while listening to Panda Bear's A Day with the Homies, EP, with headphones on. The heady, textural experience of the music was the perfect way to start my journey into the great unknown. I got comfortable laughing to myself as I stared out the window at the waviness of my neighbour's roof. I had entered a state where I was calmly curious about everything. Luna was in the living room eating nachos watching a reality television show with headphones on. I couldn't help cracking up at the sight of her destroying the nachos and consuming her reality television, mostly because I thought she was cute, but also because she reminded me of a little nacho monster. She noticed me laughing and got mad that I was watching her. She said it was simply a weird thing to do, and that overall I was being weird. Weird is an unfortunate adjective to use in moments like these. What really does weird mean? Different, nothing more, nothing less. Grotesquely different, rather. It was far too vague of an assessment of me. Somehow, the next hour or two moved on, and Luna left to go get dinner with Cassie. Luna and Cassie had become good friends, even though they met after Omar and Cassie's split, and we all had drinks together from time to time. I would have joined them for dinner, but because of my DSL connection, I was neither hungry nor desiring the outside world. It was sad to see Luna go, especially since I got the sense that she really didn't want to be around me. Her rejection of my essential nature was hurtful, and so I was left alone for a few hours while they went out to a restaurant called Butch and Babes. In my solitude, I decided to consume some green power and put on the remixed Radiohead B-sides collection OK Not OK Disc 2, which contained several songs I had been listening to since I was 13, now in remastered forms. The first song, I Promise, was one I had never heard before, but it cut deep nonetheless. As Tom sang, "I won't run away no more, I promise," I thought about myself straying away from Luna. I was always trying to convince myself that my thoughts of infidelity were just a phase, and that I'd become more loyal to her with time, but the song captured the frailty of my repeated promise that was anything but, and I started to weep. I skipped Man of War and instead listened to Lift, the third song on the album, and was equally moved to tears. I remembered the song was about Tom feeling like he was stuck in a lift, going up and down into different rooms exhaustively, and I realized that I felt the same way about my relationship, and even my mental health in general. My weeping continued into Lull, a song that had been very dear to me in the past, and then hit me like a brick wall during my DSL state. There was a haunting resonance in the lyrics. There's nothing more dull than talking about yourself, but what I meant to say, I'm sorry that I lost control. It was all about me, and this had all been culminating my entire life. The track, Meeting in the Aisle, came on, and my crying ceased as I suddenly got more serious and colder about the whole thing. Though my relationship was falling apart, I still had this cool foundation of a personality, this way of thinking and being I could fall back on that no one could take away from me. The track Melatonin hit heavy as well. Don't forget that you are a sin, now go to bed. But I kept the tears back, and when a reminder came on, I felt as triumphant and unstoppable as the track. By the end of the record, I had rocked out to Palo Alto and also shifted to feeling appropriately reverent for how I made my millions. After listening to that album, I was jazzed to listen to more Radiohead and put on Pablo Honey, their first album. In a surprising way, listening to Pablo Honey built my ego back up, so to speak, as if I had processed and purged everything I needed to with OK Not OK Too, and now had to re-establish the essential vibe. I took a shower and got dressed in what I now consider to be a bit of an obnoxious outfit. I wore this extra short-sleeved knit black shirt that went down close to my knees and had a grey flap of extra fabric sewn on the back. My Kanye shirt, we had called it. In addition, I wore baggy dark purple pants and a necklace. Luna and Cassie returned, and I greeted them jovially. I also asked Luna what she thought about my outfit. She hesitated. "It's interesting," she said, in no sort of positively convincing way. I was immediately deflated. "You don't like it?" I challenged her. "Not really." "Of course you don't." "I think it's cool," Cassie chimed in. "There we go. See?" I looked at Luna. Whatever. The opinions of others held little weight for her. The three of us walked toward the music venue, a 30-minute walk down the main busy street of Hip Forest. Luna and Cassie talked on and on about the dinner they had at Butch and Babe's, which only started to sound grosser and grosser. The menu was apparently different types of hot dogs and other food that could be joked about sexually, and the DSL was letting me in on all their unintentional double entendres. I couldn't listen to their conversation without framing the language as inherently sexual in nature, but decided I knew better than to talk about what I was thinking, and kept my mouth shut. Finally, we made it to the show, and stayed for the duration. There was an awkward moment where I walked away from Luna and Cassie to go talk to younger women I knew from school. Luna wasn't one to get jealous, even though this was a situation where I would not have blamed her. What was I doing? Befriending and talking to girls who were still in college. I returned to Luna before long, but the vibes weren't there with her that night. I was convinced she wasn't even into me anymore, and that there was no reason why I shouldn't just pursue someone else that night. She had rejected my outfit that I had spent so much time assembling, and it wasn't anywhere close to the first time she had rejected something about me either. Note initial teal beanie rejection from the first few weeks we knew each other. We made our way home after the show, and Luna said that she just wanted to go to sleep, her tone indicative of no interest in sex. It was a weekend night, we had gone out and had drinks, and there was absolutely no flame kindled in the slightest. So she went to sleep, and I decided to go out and have a night at the club. Rather drunk and pissed off, I stormed down the hill to a bar where I knew pretty women would be gathered, a classic get drunk and dance to the thumping music situation. I stood in line and noticed I was behind Victoria, a woman I had met at a coffee shop before. She was absolutely beautiful in the way that models are, almost like a cat woman, with dark eyebrows and bleached blonde hair. She also wore glittery makeup and sugary pink lip gloss, choices I'm particularly partial to. I told her straight up that I had always been attracted to her, which she acted surprised to hear, and she replied that she had always thought I was cute too. So there we were, in line, confessing our feelings for one another, when suddenly we started to make out against the wall of the building. It was an incredible feeling to go out on my own and to immediately find someone gorgeous to make out with, and someone I had figured was out of my league at that. We made it into the club together and proceeded to dance, grind, make out, and do just about everything else one can do with clothes on. I couldn't believe it, and knew that this path of action would mean splitting up with Luna for sure. We took a break from dancing, and I went to the bathroom. When I came back, some guy had scooped up Victoria, and she followed him out. I went up to her, angry. "You're leaving with him?" He was a bartender at the venue I did sound at, and I had never thought much of him. "Oh, don't be like that," she replied, as if my reaction to being deserted was going to be a buzzkill for our time together. "What do you even mean?" I was incredulous. Part of me really couldn't be surprised, though. If she had hooked up with me so quick, why should I think that she wouldn't have done the same with countless others? Off she went with the fellow, and I was left at the dance party, deserted by my dance partner everyone had seen me dance with. And that was the night. I made my way back home and got in bed with Luna, who was fast asleep and did not stir. The next morning, I woke up before her as I usually did and went to the bathroom. As I looked in the mirror, I saw my lips were caked in Victoria's pink glitter. Terrified, I immediately started flushing my face with hot water and rubbed my knuckles against my lips. Luckily, I was able to eliminate all traces, but I couldn't eliminate the fact that I had officially cheated on Luna. There was no need to let it be known, though, especially since I regretted it. But I wasn't so sure I regretted it, to tell the truth. Being with Victoria was an amazing experience I otherwise would never have had, and Luna wasn't directly hurt by any of it. I did hate the cheater vibe, though, and of course would hate if the tables were turned and Luna had done the same to me. But the DSL connection may have unhinged me a bit, just enough to put my past feelings about Luna aside and to realize that in that moment I was not in deep love with Luna, and perhaps never would be again. A few weeks later, I made the decision to move home at the end of the summer, and my main reasoning to Luna was that I felt like we needed space. I also added that we should, at least, be in an open relationship. She was more open to this idea than others, just because she had grown up surrounded by unconventional relationships. It was a hard thing for her to hear, but it was decided. I was done living in Hip Forest and felt like I needed to test our relationship with distance because I felt my love for her wavering. I told her my decision to leave as we shared some fries in the Hip Forest town park. She understood the decision, which I did quote in reasons of needing to save more money and to work on my music more, and those weren't false statements. But Luna herself was a suffocating force in my life, with her daily work stories about troubled preschooler problems and her inability to focus on someone else's adult life other than her own. I understood that she had to put herself aside all day at work for the kids, but that wasn't my problem, and my experience in the relationship shouldn't have had to suffer because of her job. If I found that I definitely wanted to split up with her, it would be easier to do so from afar, living with my parents 3.5 hours away. But it was still only May, so we had practically 4 full months together before going our separate ways into open relationship, long-distance land.